Hi there, welcome back to your favorite deep dive show on stories contemporary and consequential for India. This week, 4 quick ones. 1 on foreign policy and 3 domestic, connected with civic governance, but of national importance nevertheless. Let's get going.
两岸同胞血浓于水，祖国统一的历史大势不可阻挡。
Could China take over Taiwan in 2026, like this year? You just heard Chinese President Xi Jinping underscoring his and his country's national resolve for reunification of Taiwan. As New Year resolutions go, this was a menacing one, at least for the citizens of Taiwan. This was Chinese President Xi Jinping is stating in no uncertain terms that 2026 could be the year China goes for the kill and take over Taiwan. There are reasons to believe so. The build-up has been real and visible for the last couple of years, but more so second half of 2025. Excise Justice Mission capped the Chinese mind games and military maneuvers across the Taiwan Straits and beyond this week. This was the 6th largest scale set since 2022, but way more intense, with zones larger and drills explicitly framed as determining external interference, code for the United States and its allies. Picture this: Chinese warships forming a chokehold around the island, submarines lurking below, amphibious landing craft practicing beach assaults, and swarms of J-20 stealth fighters dominating the skies. It felt like a dress rehearsal for the D-Day. Xi made his address to coincide with Taiwan's National Day this Sunday to sound more like a warning. Taiwan's defense minister has said that the cross-straits relations are at their worst in the last 40 years. Early in the year after Taiwan's presidential inauguration, China launched Joint Sword 2025, a massive operation that blocked key sea lanes and practiced long-duration blockades. By summer, they escalated to live-fire amphibious drills on nearby islands, complete with hovercraft disgorging troops and helicopters airlifting commandos. Parallel to Xi hardening his stance, we have seen the PLA's modernization hit warp speed. More Type 075 amphibious assault ships, DF-17 or Dongfang 17 hypersonic gliders and drone swarms capable of overwhelming Taiwan's defenses. China's military edge is undeniable. Taiwan's about 200,000 troops face a PLA juggernaut of 2 million, backed by the world's largest navy of over 370 ships and air force. A blockade could starve Taiwan's 23 million people in just weeks. 90% of its energy imports come by sea, through the same sea lanes. War games by the CSIS and RAND suggest China could take the island in 3 to 6 weeks' time, though at horrific cost. Tens of thousands dead perhaps, and economy shattered. So, with a war machine in place, exercises done and dusted, will this rehearsal become the real show? Maybe, we don't know, but more likely, China would test patience, not just of the United States, but with the rest of the world. 2025's exercises have proved that China can sustain pressure without firing first. Taiwan accounts for 60% of world's semiconductor supplies. There's already diversification of those supply chains happening. Remember, Trump campaign, which surprisingly then, and not so surprisingly now, targeted Taiwan instead of China. His jabs at Taiwan is stealing chip business. Remember in 2024, the just-released National Security Strategy paper of the United States, which we focused on in the last episode of the show, makes it clear that America is willing to look the other way in case China gets up close with Taiwan. Of course, true to Trump's style of deal-making, for a price. The NSS outlines sanctions packages, AUKUS submarine boosts, and Quad exercises, but no explicit boots on Taiwan pledge. It literally leaves Taiwan to fend for itself. Well, not just Taiwan, the Eastern Hemisphere, so to say, with all the talk of burden sharing in NSS. Because the NSS, as elaborated by US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, sees the world into two halves. One, an arc of American influence, the other, a Chinese sphere. No rewards for guessing in which half Taiwan and Japan lie. Critics call this abandonment. Trump's mega supporters, realism. Taiwan is left relying on its own defenses, of course bolstered by $20 billion worth of US arms, but without the old unspoken guarantee. Europe, too distracted by Ukraine. Japan might join defensively, and that's why we have seen Beijing more offensive of late vis-à-vis Tokyo than Taipei. Now, what about India? In a 2026 Taiwan takeover, New Delhi's position would likely blend caution with quiet alignment against China. There's deep mistrust that keeps surfacing despite the recent attempts at thaw, like it happened in the case of Arunachal Pradesh mentioned. A Taiwan war would stretch PLA resources, potentially easing Himalayan pressure. Maybe India could do something about POK in that period. So we might cheer silently. Publicly, expect concern over unilateral changes to status quo statements from Jaishankar, our External Affairs Minister. India backing on UN clause and freedom of navigation. India has joined US-led drills like Malabar. We have sold BrahMos missiles to Indonesia and Philippines. And we eye Taiwan for semiconductors till we start building our own. But of course, no direct intervention. India's military essentially remains primed for Op Sindoor 2.0 against Pakistan. Quad partner, yes, but Prime Minister Modi prioritizes a strategic autonomy. The bottom line is, India opposes and would oppose Chinese hegemony, but won't bleed for Taiwan. So is 2026 the year? What are the odds? According to a Guardian report, they sit at about 20 to 30% in 2026, up from 10% in 2025. China's window narrows. Xi's 2035 modernization goals demand action soon, before the United States rearms with 8 carriers by 2030 or closes the gap. But deterrence holds if costs look unbearable. A blockade tests that first, forcing the world to choose, fight or fold. Taiwan's fate isn't sealed. Taipei responded with its own nighttime combat drills and river blockades. But it's clear, even in the worst of times, the Chinese war machine would easily prevail. President Lai Ching-te's New Year's vow to defend sovereignty is brave. But polls show most Taiwanese want status quo, not war. 2026 could be the year the Taiwan powder keg explodes, built on 2025's intense drills and a US shift towards isolationism. Moving to the next one. A landmark political development panned out in Kerala this week. For the first time in the state's history, the BJP has its mayor in Thiruvananthapuram. Party veteran V.V. Rajesh took oath with G.S. Ashanath as his deputy. Whether it's just a jinx broken or a long-term trend, let's check out. A traditional left bastion, remember the state gave India's first democratically elected communist government back in the 1950s. It's been a bipolar polity between the CPI-led LDF and the Congress-led UDF since. That entrenched bipolarity was broken this week. A 45 years power run of the left was broken with the BJP coming to power in Thiruvananthapuram Municipal Corporation. The party also won 26 panchayats and made further inroads in urban local bodies like Palakkad, emerging as a competitive third front in pockets of Kerala, if not the entire state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was effusive in his congratulatory message to the mayor. calling it historic, epoch-making, to be written in golden letters so far as the BJP is concerned. To understand where it is coming from, just go back to 1987 when the BJP won the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation for the first time and within a decade came to power in Gujarat. A young Narendra Modi was the campaign in charge then. The rise has been gradual. From a vote share of little over 10% in 2016, it climbed to 11.3% in 2021 and then to 15.64% in 2024 general elections. After fiddling for decades, the party won its sole MLA in 2016 when O. Rajgopal got elected from Nemom. But since then has drawn a blank insofar as the state assembly is concerned. The 2024 general elections saw Malayalam star Suresh Gopi win from Thrissur, and so the Thiruvananthapuram win can be seen as a continuity. It is the only district where the party has crossed the 20% vote share mark. There are reasons to believe this could be a more enduring shift in Kerala politics. As Prime Minister said in his letter to Rajesh, people can now clearly see the fixed match between the LDF and the UDF, in which they are friends at the centre and have a friendly contest in Kerala. The state has characterized contrasts like the most literate state in the country with a culture of political violence that can put even Hindi heartland states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to shame. Records suggest over 500 instances of murder across the state connected with politics in the last 25 years alone. One district, that of Kannur in north, which also has Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's seat, Dharmadom, has reported over 300 political killings since 1969. Development pitch, the recent opening of the Visayanjam port, which saw jousting between all political parties, including the Congress and the left, the possibility of a maritime theatre command coming up in the state capital, a defense manufacturing corridor, and a metro for the Thiruvananthapuram urban agglomeration might have helped the BJP create a buzz around itself. Interestingly, it was the left that was traditionally seen as the Hindu party in the state, despite all the RSS activism, as the Congress cornered minority, largely Muslim sentiment. This has seen the BJP pivot to the Hindu and the Christian vote, with Prime Minister's personal push, from being seen at Christmas prayers in Delhi to sending a delegation to the Vatican during Pope's anointment, all made of Kerala BJP leaders. And there seems to be a plan and some bench strength. Rajesh was not the first choice to be mayor. The plan was to have Kerala's first woman IPS officer R. Srilekha take the charge, only to be jettisoned as the deputy mayor post had to go to a woman as per reservation roster. Kerala is not Gujarat, and the BJP knows that. The state's social fabric, with its strong leftist leanings and high literacy, presents unique challenges. Yet the breach of the Thiruvananthapuram Marxist fortress is a psychological victory. Will this change translate into assembly seats in 2026, just April or May? That remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Kerala politics will never be the same again. The rise of the BJP in Thiruvananthapuram is not just a local story, it is a chapter in the evolving narrative of Indian democracy where even the most entrenched bastions can fall when the winds of change blow strong. Maybe it applies to BJP also in some states. Coming as it does, just ahead of the assembly elections this year, the BJP seems gung-ho about making further inroads. The average vote share of 17% is 2 percentage points above 2021 assembly results and shows scalability in about 34 seats. There are constituencies like Nemom where BJP emerged the single largest party, prompting the state president Rajiv Chandrasekhar to suggest that he might contest from there. There are gaps for sure. As John Brittas of the CPI pointed out, the BJP's vote share has come down from the 2024 general elections mark, though of course higher than 2021. The argument is that in some pockets, the Congress vote shifted to the BJP, even if that is a consolation. For the left, the BJP is not complaining. The reason I thought of looking at this development is the curious political geography of Kerala. With its strong left inclination, its voted communist since the time of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. In fact, so strongly that Nehru himself dismissed the first democratically elected communist government, that of EMS Namboodiripad, in 1959, only 2 years into its term. Just last year, there was a book called Spying in South Asia by King's College, London-based academic Paul McGarr, in which he suggested, based on some recently declassified MI5 and MI6 documents, that dismissal of the Namboodiripad government was a CIA operation. In times that we have been discussing the harmful impact of duopolies in the corporate world, from Indigo, Air India to Airtel Jio, in the political space at least, the left and the UDF duopoly stands broken in Kerala democratically. And when it's mayors, Mumbai had its own story this week. Let's go to the next one.
हमारा तो ये उम्मीद है कि एक दिन मुंबई की मेयर हमारी हिजाब पहनने वाली महिला बहन भी बनेगी इंशाल्लाह। बन सकते थे कि पहले भी मुसलमान लोग बने। भारत के प्रेसिडेंट बन चुके हैं एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम आजाद जी, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट रह चुके हामिद साहब, कितने सारे गवर्नर हैं जो बने हैं मुसलमान। मगर ये बोलना कि नहीं, ये बोलने वाला ही बनेगा, ये बिल्कुल असंवैधानिक है। ऐसा नहीं, जनता जनार्दन है।
एमआईएम के नेताओं को अपनी पार्टी पाकिस्तान में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, इस्लामाबाद में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, कराची में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि ये हमारे भारत देश में, ये हमारे मुंबई में, जिसका डीएनए हमेशा हिंदुत्व का रहा है, उस हमारे मुंबई में इसकी पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है।
This jaw happened between Waris Pathan of the AIMIM and Nitesh Rane, cabinet minister from the BJP in Maharashtra. This is election time. Mumbaikars would vote to choose their city fathers, including a mayor, for the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation or BMC on January 16. Elections call for galvanizing constituencies. Mobilization calls for polarization. So that explains comments from both the sides. And since Waris Pathan has started this, why not a Muslim mayor? Why not? You know why some secular politicians of India wear skull caps and hold iftars? Because they want to meld with their electorate. They want to be seen as one with those they represent, even if for optics, even if this is pseudo-secularism. So if Waris Pathan fancies a Muslim mayor, he or she be better ready to bow down to Lal Bagcha Raja. The mayor would not represent all the Mumbaikars if Siddhi Vinayak is not seen as the presiding deity of the city. With Christmas at the Mahim church thrown in, the same where Amitabh Bachchan played the role of Antony in the Bollywood flick Amar Akbar Antony. I think Waris gets the drift. You can't be a Wahhabi radical fancying the jingoistic idea of Goswami and still think of becoming the mayor of Mumbai. Unless, of course, the demographic change, as warned by the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS report, of Hindus becoming a minority over some decades happens. If Waris is fancying that, then he has no option but to deal with Nitesh Rane. And last, he has to stop guilt-tripping India on 1947. Muslims sought a nation for themselves and got Pakistan. Those who could not go, either for logistics or for India's essentially Hindu large-heartedness, cannot resurrect the same arguments that led to Pakistan. Unfortunately, Waris Pathan's Muslim mayor pitch smacks of one of Jinnah's 14 points that led to the Lahore resolution of the Muslim League and the birth of Pakistan. Mumbai does not need a Muslim mayor or a Hindu first citizen. It needs municipal governance and a set of city fathers who can deliver civic hygiene and not the apology of an urban slum that Mumbai looks from the aircrafts and the flights landing at the Santa Cruz airport. Every June, Mumbai braces for chaos as monsoon lashes the city. Roads turn into rivers, trains crawl to a halt. Every monsoon makes the Shanghai dream of Mumbai look even more distant. The BMC's annual budget for 2025 was a staggering 52,000 plus crores, bigger than the budgets of some of the smaller states in India. Yet the city's drainage system remains woefully inadequate. Governance failure is the real culprit. As India's financial capital, Mumbai contributes over 6% to the national GDP. Its governance cannot be reduced to communal arithmetic. The mayor should be chosen for vision and execution, not for religious identity. A Hindu or Muslim mayor will not stop waterlogging. A competent mayor will. A Marathi or non-Marathi mayor will not fix potholes. An accountable mayor will. And while we are on municipal governance, the last segment on a national shame that we have lived through this week.
और 2-3 दिन में पता नहीं एकदम ऐसा पानी आया है कि बस बीमारी हो गई।
पानी का इन्फेक्शन हुआ है। पानी से बिल्कुल।
मेरा सारा फोन है सर।
Indore, India's cleanest city for the last decade, lived through an ignominy this week. At least 14 people died after drinking contaminated water as leaking drainage pipes got mixed with water supply lines in Bhagirathpura area of the city. If this can happen to India's cleanest city, and Indore feels like our cleanest city, to be honest, when you visit, then you can imagine what the state of urban governance we have in India. It's a mess. It's a collective shame. Indore is criminal negligence that needs swift justice. It is surprising that no heads have rolled. The in-charge minister should have been sacked. The municipal commissioner should have been booted out. The mayor should have got the marching orders. Instead, we had the ugly pictures of a senior minister, Kailash Vijayvargiya, using uncouth language with the media, trying to put the onus entirely on the bureaucracy, scapegoating contractors, even as the plan to get clean water to the neighborhood got dumped in files. Look at this letter, written by municipal corporator of the concerned ward, Kamal Waghela. It is more a mea culpa of a rusted system that breathes on corruption and neglect. Here, the corporator is listing all the efforts put in by the people, petitioning all levels of government from the local municipal office to the chief minister's complaint window. Yet, for a year, the requests to replace the rusted, leaking sewage pipes gathered dust. It took 8 months to reach tendering stage, and then for another 6 months, nothing happened. More than a dozen lives are lost to poisonous water. Hundreds are struggling in hospitals. Thousands are affected. Indore is symptomatic of our urban governance mess. Most likely, the tender never reached execution stage because the government is low of cash, having transferred most money to the Ladli Behanas as part of direct benefit transfers scheme. Indore episode has happened fresh out of the Aravali judicial scandal, which was clearly a case of lack of oversight on what harm a lazy decision can cause to our ecology, if not outright corruption. The Aravali verdict was ameliorated by the Supreme Court itself, thankfully, but not before the national capital region lived through toxicity of 400 plus AQI. That included those Supreme Court justices, by the way, breathing same poisonous air. In a classic coming together of urban governance disaster and broken window economics, our lordships even toyed with the idea of reducing GST on air purifiers. If you have to die, at least die cheap. That seems to be the lesson from Delhi to Indore, BJP governments included. Thanks for watching.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी। अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
5, 4, 3,
S200 motors.
Plus 20 seconds.
Lift off normal.
L40 stages are ignited. Plus 5 seconds. Plus 20 seconds. First stage performance normal. L40 stages thrust cutoff. Plus 5 seconds.
ऑटो ट्रैकिंग
PT driver tracking.
PSLV 661 का सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन प्रथम प्रमोचन मंच से अपने उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर अपना सफर जारी कर चुका है।
Performance normal.
There's a magnificent
2, 1, 0.
All L40 engines generating nominal thrust. S139 motor ignited. First stage performance normal.
One, 0.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
There will be no asymmetry of power in this country, that the power is with the people. Our job and our commitment is to drive public opinion in the direction that it can make a change.
Is AI a bubble or will it last?
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
When we look out at the world, Samir, we look for partners. We don't look for preachers. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism.
India in 2025 saw many international diplomatic moments of India's external affairs.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. Your
You're watching Republic.
Captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro brought to New York. Maduro and wife to now face charges. India issues first statement on Venezuela and Maduro's capture, calls for peaceful dialogue amid crisis.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So,
a big statement from Donald Trump after U.S. captures Maduro, says United States will run Venezuela until safe transition takes place.
we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave.
After the U.S. largest strike on Caracas, Trump warns of a second bigger attack if needed.
Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil.
Trump says Maduro and his wife to face American justice for spreading narco-terrorism. Maduro indicted in New York court as per U.S. attorney charged with narco-terrorism. World leaders react to Maduro capture, urge Washington to dial down aggression, exercise restraint. India has issued a statement. Ministry of External Affairs has issued the first statement on the Venezuela issue. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs has expressed concerns over the developments. India reaffirms support for the well-being and safety of the Venezuelans. Both sides to resolve issues peacefully through dialogue, says India, in order to ensure regional stability. India calls for peaceful dialogue amid the crises. And that's the first reaction from New Delhi on the situation that has unfolded in Venezuela in the past 24 hours as Maduro is captured and is taken along with his wife to New York to face charges of narco-terrorism and possession of weapons, etc. There is a first reaction coming in. Okay, we have senior journalist and geopolitical expert Bhaskar joining us on the broadcast. A very good afternoon to you, sir. And, this is a situation now that's, got the entire world talking, and focus is on the United States' actions, sir. So much so that apart from the strike, the midnight strike and the capture, and Donald Trump then saying that America is going to run Venezuela till there is a safe transition. How do you read into that statement by Donald Trump?
Firstly, this is not the first time that America has invaded a country, arrested its leader. Remember what happened in Panama when Noriega was taken captive and the government took charge of Panama. It is only later Panama has gained back its independence. If you listen to the Nobel Prize winner, and if you listen to him, you'll find Harold Pinter. He says in a broadcast just after the Iraq war that the US is guilty of banditry, and he lists out the number of Latin American countries it's invaded surreptitiously, overtly, sometimes with killings. The US has done the same thing now, and he talks about US justice. He's broken every rule. Unfortunately, India has not taken a stand and condemned that act. It has said it will support the people, but it has not said it condemns the invasion of any sovereign territory. Now, this is dangerous for India, because tomorrow if someone attempts to invade any of our border states, India will have no leg to stand on because India did not condemn it. India needs to join the world community. China, Russia, we're talking Russia, India, China. Why did India not join in and say this is wrong? Maybe India's a little worried. India doesn't want to take on the US. Remember, when the immigrants came to India, the illegal immigrants, they were in handcuffs and in shackles.
Yeah.
Other countries protested, India kept quiet. When the US told India to buy its arms, which had not performed very well in the theaters of war in Europe and the Middle East, India went ahead and purchased the arms. India appears to be a little timid before the US and does not want to take a stand. A lot will depend on what stand India takes at the UN meeting on this issue.
Right, sir.
And one more thing I can mention.
Yeah.
The US also plans to use this method against Iran. Remember Iran, they tried to bring in regime change when the drones went and killed the top brass. And the Prime Minister himself targeted, but he escaped. Now they try to foster another revolt, which Iran has put down. And because it put down the revolt successfully, Trump goes out and says, if you don't stop killing people, we will attack you. 10 people died. Compared to the number of people the US has shot down on the high seas on charges of drug trafficking without proving a single case of misdemeanor.
Sir, do you feel that tomorrow when the UN Security Council holds the emergency meeting, will there be condemnation? Will there be outright condemnation? Will the US... yes, sir.
Many countries will condemn it. I do not know what India will do. India does not want to provoke the USA. One of the reasons could be what Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, stated publicly in Delhi in the Raisina conference, that the US has a dossier on every policy maker in India. Maybe it's that fear. Maybe there are other fears, but India has to take a stand. The trouble is that if you sit on the fence all the time, the world sees you weak. And then you lose friends. India is friendless in much of the world compared to 5 years ago. India must take a stand. India deserves better. India needs dignity. And dignity comes only when you take a stand which is right and which is just.
More in line with the Vishwaguru theories, indeed, as you rightly pointed out. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun Bhaskar. As always, pleasure having you on Republic TV. We shift our focus to the reports that we have filed from Venezuela. Republic TV is reporting exclusively from Venezuela, getting you all the latest updates from Ground Zero. Senior journalist Lenin Danieri sent us this report from Maracaibo, Zulia State in Venezuela, right after Maduro was captured by the United States. Take a look.
Here in Venezuela, specifically in Maracaibo, occidental part of Venezuela, here we feel a tense calm because since we know about helicopters flying over Caracas and bombed 7 different parts of the capital city. Here in Maracaibo, it's the second city, the most important here in Venezuela. The people go out of your house and buy medicines, food, gasoline, even in some gas stations. In some gas stations, we see so many vehicles in file waiting for his turn. I can talk about the situation is in the military bases here in Maracaibo. All the bases in this part of Venezuela have a reinforcement of the custody and the access, vehicle and access for that basis are closed. Actually, the authorities, government, regional government, the mayors, the majority, absolutely all the mayors and the government, regional government, is allied of party of Nicolas Maduro. They have a reunion in 7 or 8 o'clock in the night for talk about declarations of Donald Trump and the situation, the next situation we can confront, because Donald Trump talked about a second wave to attacks here in Venezuela, and that situation generates so many concern in the people, because in the first attack, we know about persons that died and the consequence of the launch of the bombs in so many people, so many areas of Caracas. We are staying here in this part of Venezuela, alert, very expectant about so many things can happen, because after declaration of Donald Trump, we don't know with certain what can happen here in this part of Venezuela. This is the situation here in Maracaibo, Estado Zulia. I can send you to this contact. Greetings.
Now, Nicolas Maduro, the ousted Venezuelan president, has been indicted by a New York court on multiple charges now, including narco-terror conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and the indictment alleges that Maduro, along with his wife, Celia Flores, and other high-ranking officials participated in a decades-long conspiracy to traffic cocaine into the United States. Now, what are the other charges that have been leveled against the duo? My colleague Shivangi gets you more on that.
Okay, let's have a look at the charges. Now, Maduro is charged with narco-terror conspiracy. So one of the big charges that we are seeing here is a narco-terror conspiracy. The US, for the longest time, viewers, has been saying that Maduro is involved with narco-terrorism, specifically terrorism which is affecting the United States. Let's go ahead to the next chart. Charged with cocaine importation conspiracy. That is also one of the charges which have been against Maduro, charged with possession of machine guns. Now, you know, this is very important, because what the US has been saying, and this is not the first time, for years and years, the US has said that Maduro is doing activities which are against the interest of the United States. Okay, charged with possession of machine guns, charged with possession of destructive devices. That is also one of the charges coming in. We were talking to Eric, Mr. Eric, who is a senior journalist in the United States, and he made it very clear that this is not the first time that US has made these allegations. Of course, US has been concerned about this for many, many years. In fact, we see Maduro has been indicted on this years ago. Finally, the US has taken action. Conspiracy to possess machine guns, one of the charges, and conspiracy to possess destructive devices. These are some of the top charges that we see which have been leveled against Nicolas Maduro. Maduro has been indicted by the New York court. He will be facing charges. He is in New York right now.
So Trump's anti-war promises are only crumbling. Despite vowing no new wars and to end wars, US forces launched the pre-dawn strikes on Caracas, capturing Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. And we now get you these exclusive reactions on Trump that are dated from November 2024 to June 2025, when he slammed the endless wars. Now he's escalated the situation in Venezuela himself. So from measure success by wars we end, and also, of course, pining literally for Nobel Peace Prize, to the airstrikes now being conducted, the leaders snatched, his entire hypocrisy is only now being exposed. So is this Trump's Biden 2.0? This is his new avatar, if you can say. Raw footage, the explosions, and his own words are contradicting everything. Take a look.
I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. No more wars, no more disruptions. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more disruptions, and we will have prosperity and peace for all. I am the candidate of peace. I am peace.
Despite Trump's long-standing anti-war rhetoric, U.S. forces launched pre-dawn strikes across Venezuela's capital and surrounding areas. Residents awoke to thunderous explosions and the roar of aircraft overhead. Trump announced that U.S. forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, and flew them out of the country.
But we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny. We're going to achieve the most incredible future.
And yet, Venezuela was hit with strikes, followed by a claimed capture of its leader.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
However, Venezuela is the opposite headline: strikes first, diplomacy later.
But I'm proud to be the first president in decades who started no new wars. And the reason I started no new wars is they respected the people in this room. It's true.
Now, a fresh military operation in Caracas is being framed worldwide as escalation.
Ay, mamá, huevo. Erga, se metieron los de la USA, papi. Los que tienen 14 años son más grandes que Kenia.
But I don't know, did Bush ever end? Do you think Biden ended a war? Biden started wars because he was stupid. But do you think Biden ended any wars? No. I don't know of anybody that ended wars. I ended 8 of them. Now it's going to be 9.
And now, Trump has done exactly what he accused Biden of doing, launching military strikes and escalating conflict, this time in Venezuela. Trump's pitch has been consistent: end wars, avoid new ones, stop endless intervention. But Venezuela has now become the proof of contradiction: strikes, then a headline capture of a sitting president.
So the American attack on Venezuela marks a watershed moment, not just for South America, but for the changing global order itself. The international consequences of this move are now being closely watched. This, however, was not an attack that was planned just overnight. It had been brewing for months, that gathered momentum after Donald Trump assumed power for his second term. Watch this explainer as we break down how a tactical conflict escalated into a full-scale attack and how it sent shockwaves across the world.
On the 3rd of January, US President Donald Trump announced that American forces had conducted a large-scale strike on Venezuela, resulting in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. They were extracted from the country by elite Delta Force units amid explosions in Caracas and other sites. This dramatic operation culminated months of escalating US pressure framed around long-standing 2020 US indictments charging Maduro with narco-terrorism, drug trafficking and ties to the cartel de los Sols, which has an alleged military-linked drug network. Between September and December 2025, viewers, we saw rapid intensification, blending military deployments, economic strangulation, covert operations and rhetorical threats. What follows is a chronological breakdown of how tensions boiled over. In September last year came the first American military targeting of the alleged drug boats. In October, the escalation kicked off with a massive US military deployment in the Caribbean. An expeditionary strike group, including amphibious warships with thousands of Marines, warplanes and helicopters, arrived. Washington justified this as targeting drug smuggling routes linked to Venezuela. By December end, the United States had carried out 30 such strikes, killing 110 in those drug boats off Venezuela coast. Trump even went on to publicly tie these to Maduro, accusing him of running a narco state. Then comes November, when tensions spiked as Trump hardened his stance. He ordered the complete closure of the Venezuelan airspace, citing security threats. The administration designated the Venezuelan government and Cartel de los Sols as foreign terrorist organizations. Not just that, naval forces began intercepting and seizing oil tankers linked to sanctioned Venezuelan exports, effectively starting a de facto quarantine. Trump spoke directly with Maduro by phone, but no agreement emerged. And by December, the pressure was almost